I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Taking a little executive privilege here before we do roll call. We're going to move some of the agenda items up. We have people here for licensing agreements that have young children at home, and I'm sure they would like to get home. So I just want to make sure, Michelle, your address is?
I'm Kristen, I'm 1129.
1129 is Michelle, okay. And we're going to do that agenda item first, once we do roll call. And then, Joe, your address is? 753, we'll do that second. Is anybody here from 493 Sherborne? And your name is?
Anthony.
Anthony, we'll do you third. And is anybody here from 1594 Brattleboro Drive? I guess we'll just keep that in order then, because nobody is here. Is anybody here from 691 Maple Drive? Okay. All righty. With that being said, can you please do roll?
Sure can. Supervisor Flaherty.
Here.
Councilman Cahill.
Here.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Here.
Councilwoman Wright. Here. Attorney for the town Taylor.
Here. Okay, so our first item we're going to do tonight is actually number 7 on the agenda, and it's a resolution to consider a license agreement to allow a 5-foot chain link fence within a town drainage easement at 753 Tanya Circle. I did that wrong. I'm sorry. Number 7 is to consider a license agreement to allow a fence within a town drainage easement at 1129 Shallowbrook Terrace. Michelle Lochner, I take it you are the property owner?
Kristen Highland.
I beg your pardon?
Kristen Highland. Should be under Kristen Highland.
Yep.
It is under Kristen Highland.
I'm sorry. What did I just,
You can remove Michelle, I'm not here for license, I'm just here to listen.
okay. Now I got it. Just when I thought I had my sheets correctly, 3 sheets to the wind. Okay, so it's Kristen. All righty. Well, let's put it this way. We could probably make this very easy for you, because when it comes to these license agreements, especially in drainage easements, if Pat Stevens, our highway superintendent, has a support letter for it, which I think he does.
He does.
That is the magic pill for this board, usually saying you can have it. Any questions or comments from the board?
No.
I make a motion for a license agreement to allow a fence within a town drainage easement at 1129 Shallowbrook Terrace, tax ID number 095.05-4.10.1.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye?
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright.
Aye.
Okay. That was Kristen. Well, you're set. Unless you have to do any communication, Kyle, or is that something that comes subsequent about just the legal stuff?
Yeah, we'll work, Josh and I'll work with Kristen.
Great.
And the other
Perfect.
license agreements and wrapping that up.
Beautiful. The next one is a resolution to consider a license agreement to allow a 5-foot chain link fence within a town drainage easement at 753 Tanya Circle. And this is Joe Schuler, correct? And deja vu. I think we have our esteemed highway superintendent's letter of support on this. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Any questions from the town board members?
Nope.
I am going to make a motion for a license agreement to allow a 5-foot chain link fence within a town drainage easement at 753 Tanya Circle, tax ID number 094.05-2-33.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye?
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright. Aye.
Deja vu. Yes, sir?
There's two easements on the property, so you said A, I just want to make sure we're covering both easements.
It might be one that's called utility. Kyle and I have been dealing with this a little bit.
Okay.
I think you're referring to the 15-foot wide proposed pedestrian easement that's shown on the map? No?
Joe, you may want to come up to the podium, clear this up, hopefully.
Yeah, no, there's two easements, I think there's two drainage easements. There's a 30-foot wide one and a 20-foot wide one.
In the letter from
30 and 20.
From Pat, the highway superintendent, it says along the south and east side, so those are the two areas
Yeah.
that require the easement, and they're both in the letter.
I think as long as they're not a different type, then the letter should cover all the drainage easements
Okay.
on the property, even though they're different
Yeah.
dimensions at different locations. I think we're good, but it's good to clarify.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm approved to build a fence.
No, that's a
in
great
both
point, because
easements.
then
I believe the
Kyle
meets
and
and
Josh,
bounds,
in your,
yeah.
sorry, in your interaction with Joe, there are two. And that probably has two filings with the, I don't know.
There's
I'll let
one-
you guys figure that out.
It's one filing. Yeah, I think it's one set of meets and bounds, I would imagine.
Love it.
Uh,
Love it.
Just on my review of the abstract, there's two different easements that were reserved, so I don't know if that matters, or if I'll need one license agreement or two.
It'll still just be one licensing.
Okay, all right,
Good
We can
question,
cite,
though.
we can cite both if we need to.
okay, great.
Devil in the details. I'm glad you asked. Thanks, Joe. Look at you, you're hanging out. You wanted you should have brought the baby. Okay, last but not least on my executive privilege of moving some things up, there is a resolution here to consider a license agreement to allow a 4-foot chain link fence within a town drainage easement at 493 Sherburne Road. I'm a broken record. I think we have from Pat Stevens a support letter on this one. I know I looked earlier and they all had support letters from the appropriate department heads.
Yep,
Yeah.
yes, it is in
Yeah.
there.
There it is. Okey-dokey. All right, with that in mind, any questions, comments by the town board members? All right. I make a motion for a license agreement to allow a 4-foot chain link fence within a town drainage easement at 493 Sherborne Road, tax ID number 049.20-1-34.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright. Aye. Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
All righty. Now we'll go back to our regular scheduled programming. Our first item tonight, after those previous three, is a public hearing on a proposed cell tower called Creekside on a town-owned parcel. And we had a workshop presentation at 6:30 by the Verizon crew here in the front. And certainly their packet that they presented is, I think, on our website now to be downloaded and accessed by anybody that would like to see it. I also want to make sure everybody knows that there is no town board vote being done tonight about anything about this proposed cell tower. I don't want to be redundant to what I said at the end of the workshop. The town board will take in the information that was done at the workshop presentation, things that are presented by the public at the public hearing, and we will go back, and I don't know. I don't know if in 2 weeks we will come with a resolution or a series of resolutions on this, or if it'll be longer than that. The only thing I can tell you is that there is no voting on anything tonight. This is the public hearing for the town board and the public as a whole, because it's taped for posterity, to hear comments for the public. So with that in mind, I am going to open the public hearing. We have two people from the public who have signed in to speak, and the first one is Teresa, I hope I say this correctly, Zawaki Chapman. Wait a minute. Are you related to Mike?
That's my brother.
How did I get that spelling? Don't tell Mike I said Zawaki. You know what? I don't need him on my bad side.
I don't think so.
Yep. So jump right up there, Teresa.
Okay.
All right. Well, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Teresa Zawacki Chapman. I am a mom of a first grader at Clem North Elementary School, a graduate of Webster High School, Schrader, when there was only one. I'm from a family who has lived in this community for close to 60 years. My husband, son, and I live just 2 houses away from the parcel proposed cell phone tower site. I'm here tonight not only for myself, but on behalf of my family, my neighbors, many of whom share serious concerns about this tower being placed in our residential neighborhood. First and foremost, we are concerned about health impacts. Within a stone's throw where this tower is slated to be, there are 15 kids under the age of 15, not to mention grandkids and other younger family members. While the science around long-term exposure to radio frequency radiation is still evolving, there is enough uncertainty that many communities, especially those with young families, are choosing caution. I'm a recent cancer survivor, still going through active treatment, and the idea of this in my backyard terrifies me. Simply put, we do not want to be a test case for whether living next to a tower causes harm over decades. Beyond health, there's a significant concern about property values. Studies and real estate experts have shown that a proximity to a cell phone tower can reduce home values by 5 to 20%. That affects us not just today, but also the future ability to sell our homes and build generational security. We're also worried about the aesthetic and environmental impact. Our neighborhood has a certain character. It's Mill Creek, it's the woods, it's beautiful. It's quiet, it's green, it's residential. A cell tower changes that dramatically. We're looking at industrial equipment instead of trees and sky. Some towers require tree clearing, and that can impact our local wildlife as well. We also ask that you consider noise and safety. Many towers include generators, which may run during outages and emit mechanical noise. Towers are not without risk, whether it's wind damage, equipment failure, or being an attractive hazard to kids or teenagers, curious ones. Lastly, we feel strongly that other options could be explored. Could the town consider a more appropriate commercial or industrial location, perhaps around the Xerox abandoned area? A rooftop installation in a non-residential area? These are solutions that balance the coverage needs with community preservation. We're not against progress, we're not anti-technology, but we do ask for thoughtful, community-centered decision-making. Please do not allow this tower to go forward without deeper exploration and transparent dialogue with the residents it directly impacts. Thank you.
Teresa, thank you. Well said. Okay, next up, and actually our last person from the public who has signed in on this is David Remington.
Good evening. My name is David Remington, and I live at 1214 Creekside Trail, directly across from the proposed location of the cell tower, about 100 yards away from it. My neighbor across the street would be 100 feet from it, and our family would be looking at this out our front windows. I live probably 3 houses down from Teresa. And I pretty much have the same concerns as Teresa. My first concern is safety. Many teenage kids go back there to play, and I'm just curious what would happen if they climbed this tower. We've called the police many times. We've lived there for 11 years about kids partying back there so often that they finally put up a chain gate to keep people from going down there. It has stopped the cars from going down there, but many kids still go down there to play. and God forbid, one of them climbs it and falls or seriously, gets hurt or worse. We just feel that would be an eyesore, as Teresa said. The reason we bought this house was because it just looks like a beautiful park setting, and I think that this tower would be an eyesore. And I also agree that our property value would decrease. Just not our house, but the entire neighborhood and everyone in the surrounding area. I'm curious as why we need another tower. If you go on antennasearch.com, it says there are 39 towers with 154 antennas in a 3-mile radius of Walmart in Webster. Do we need another tower when we already have so many towers? And if so, can it be located on a commercial property like Teresa said, or in a large open space not near a residential area like Xerox or at Webster Park? I think there's a concern about people on Lake Road have no reception. Could it be put at Webster Park? And then finally, I also have health concerns, and studies have shown that wildlife are more sensitive to radiation than humans. Salmon go up Mill Creek, which would be right near this tower, and they go up there to spawn. And once they spawn, the salmon go out into Lake Ontario. And I feel that that would greatly affect the salmon population in Lake Ontario. We've watched them go up this creek for years, and it's quite a sight. And last but not least, there have been numerous studies on humans with conclusive evidence of radiation, sickness, cancer, and biochemical changes. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts, and there has to be a better solution.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
And just so we can kind of tie the loop on a public hearing, which has minutes to it and tape, Verizon, Mike, would this be you? Or as far as for the public hearing statements from Verizon? Or do you guys want to make any public statements, or do I close this out? Okay.
Is there an opportunity to bring that up, that video?
The workshop agenda.
Go to the page with the orange.
Yeah, page 5 of the PDF. So I'll speak briefly and then I'll turn it to Mike for the health concerns. But to answer the question of why here, when Verizon is looking at coverage gaps within the town of Webster, the area that we're looking at, if you see on the screen, it's Webster North. The green coloring is showing full coverage. The lighter green to yellow is showing a reduced amount of coverage. The orange, for example, is as if you're driving on a rural highway, spotty coverage, but still can connect at times. And then you'll see the area in the white. That's the coverage gap that this cell phone tower will cover. So to answer the question of, going to a more industrial space or going to Xerox or going to a commercial area, that's not within that search ring, right? It's within this white area, and that is the coverage gap that this tower will serve. I'll ask briefly if we could go to page 6. This is a demonstration of the coverage that would be provided if this tower is constructed. So in the larger sense, that is why the search ring is here. That is why the location is in this neighborhood. It is the residential houses that this tower will serve. It is the homes and communities that make calls every day. They connect to 911. It is these residences that we're trying to serve. Why this parcel is why we're before the town board. It is a town-owned parcel. It has the ability, Verizon, as any commercial activity, right, could go to any private property owner, enter into a lease, and then come to the town for zoning and planning approvals. The decision in the application before the town board is one step beyond that. It's actually to lease the property, so that the income from the lease will go directly to the town and help support town initiatives. So when looking at where towers should be placed, and I'll even say what type of properties towers should be placed. As I mentioned during our workshop meeting, the very first place that we always look at is existing towers. That's easier for us, it's easier for the town, it's a no-brainer. The next place that Verizon looks at when it's looking at the types of sites it needs to construct, it actually looks for municipal buildings. So it looks for municipal structures, it looks for municipal land, so that the revenue from the leasehold, the revenue from the rent is going to the town. So maybe to say this a little less artfully, the tower needs to go into this neighborhood to serve that coverage gap. What we're asking of the town is maybe put it on town land so that the rent is going for a town purpose. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike to address the other issues.
Mike Crosby, Verizon Wireless RF engineer. Regarding the health concerns, I'll just say a couple things about that because I think it's important to understand. So as a radio frequency engineer, we're trained in RF health and human exposure. But with that being said, I'm not a physicist or a medical doctor or anything like that. But I will say that the positioning of the antennas, which is high up on the tower above the tree line, the RF energy that's emitted from the antennas is emitted in what we call a very narrow vertical beam width. So that RF energy is high up and it's emitted out over the tops of the trees so that people that are close to the tower actually have very, very low levels of RF energy that they're receiving from that nearby tower. As far as kids being, accessing that area, the RF energy levels that would be present on the ground at the closest location possible that people could access that, whether they were trespassing or not, would be less than 1% of the maximum permissible energy level that's allowed by the FCC. And with that being said, the FCC exclusively regulates RF health concerns through a document known as OET Bulletin 65B. That document very strictly guides municipalities throughout the country on the health effects and their consideration of that. Coverage-wise, this is one of the largest gap areas that we have left in Webster. There are still a few. Lake Road certainly is one of them that we're looking at. In fact, you can see on this after image that the computer modeling has provided with us, you can actually see that even with this site, we still do have a gap at the Holt and Lake Road portion of Lake Road. There's still some weak areas along Lake Road as you get out towards Basket and County Line. We have heard from customers in the Shipbuilders Creek area. Actually, during one of our recent applications for the Pellet Road and Lake Road site, we heard from several constituents there, and we have a solution that we're planning for, these other areas that are of concern. But this particular one is really the heart of the northern part of Webster, and there's the customers that we've heard from, whether they be on Joseph Circle or Appian Drive or Brooktree, Holt Road, 250, Providence, Shoemaker, Sherborne that was mentioned, Nestwood. I mean, I could go on and on. The roads, Stockbridge, Woodhull. We've heard from so many customers in this area that coverage is unacceptable. They have no coverage in their homes. So this is a hot spot of need for us to resolve this area. With that being said, Verizon has a significant lion's share of the wireless subscribers in this area. And it's a big obligation of ours to address the needs of the customers and of course make sure that we provide for a safe environment for mobile users in the area. So in the event of a real life emergency, people are able to make a call when they need to. I know some customers that I've heard from, that have had to call 911 and they're not able to get a signal at all during the summertime when the leaves are on the trees. So The coverage is a real issue here. But I hope that helps a little bit about the RF Energy. One more thing that I'll mention about RF Energy, and then I'll hand it back to Laura or for other, feedback from the board, is that it's a little bit of a counterintuitive concept. The cell site itself is actually very low power. And from any customer, any mobile phone user, the RF energy that you would be exposed to, that the highest level of exposure that you would be exposed to is the phone. In my case, I have it in my pocket. This is going to provide the highest level of RF exposure for you as opposed to the site. So this is a higher level. What's important about this concept is that because this is such a weak area, everyone's phones that are in these weak areas are ramping up, the phones themselves are ramping up the power level that the phone is transmitting at to communicate with the network. When we're able to solve a coverage issue like this and have a site that's close to the public where the users are, it allows the UEs or the mobile phones to be able to power down to lower levels. This is something that many people have experienced when they're talking on the phone and they're like, wow, my phone is really getting hot. Like, why? Is it because I'm on the phone too long? Could be that you're in poor RF conditions and the phone is having to struggle or ramp up power in order to do that. When that's happening, the phone is at a higher level. It doesn't mean that it's not safe. It's just that there's a concept here of that when the site is located closer to where the users are, it allows the mobile phones to power down and have an easier connection with the site. So hopefully some of that is helpful.
I didn't know that.
While you're
So
still up
actually
there,
talking on your phone is, I know we're not, I guess we're, I think that's
Well,
supposed to talk, but talking on your phone is actually more dangerous than being
I-
in a cell tower.
We can close out the public hearing and you can stay up there and the board can ask questions if you'd like. But I will say just before, because I want this in the public hearing minutes, Teresa, I circled back and gave David the 20-page handout that they showed a couple of pages up there. I know you came closer to look at. That handout was gone over in a 20-minute presentation at the town board workshop tonight by the crew from Verizon to the town board and to the public. You can download that off of the town website and print it out. The actual video and audio of that workshop, so you can watch the whole thing, probably will be up on our website probably by Monday. So you'll be able to see all that stuff. Anybody can see that stuff from the workshop, audio and video, but also of that 20-page handout that I gave my copy to Dave because you were up there. And he can share that with you and any of your neighbors and that. So with that being said, I just want to make sure that's in the public meeting minutes. I'm going to close the public meeting. And I will say this, I said it at the beginning, before I open the public meeting, we're not doing any votes tonight. I couldn't even sit here with a straight face and tell you if we're showing back up here in 2 weeks with a resolution to start a process or whatever. I don't know. And you'll see that it was reiterated in the workshop presentation that I don't know where we go next with this. We have to kind of come back, talk to town council, kind of figure out the process and the things of that nature. And I said at the workshop, we also want to hear what does the public have to say. And we got a chance to hear that from Teresa and David today. So that's all I got. Town board members, if you have any questions or comments for the Verizon people, or I guess.
I made my comment. I just didn't realize that that was the case, and my phone gets hot all the time, and I talk on it all the time, and maybe I need like earbuds or something and not hold the phone to my head when I'm talking when it gets hot.
well, I appreciate you guys
Interesting.
addressing some of the concerns that the participants had. With respect to the safety of, because kids are going to be kids. We all know that. We were all kids at one time, and they're, to the gentleman's point that the kids are still going to go back there. What, from a fencing standpoint, in the perimeter of the location of this proposed cell tower, do you plan on putting any barriers up there, is my first question. The second question is with respect to the existing mature trees in that area, will any of those trees require being taken down if this location is eventually chosen?
David Weisner with Costich Engineering.
Hi,
In
David.
regards to the fencing around the compound is roughly 37 feet by 72 feet, within a couple feet. We are proposing a 7-foot tall chain link fence with 1 foot of barbed wire at the top, angled out.
Right.
So that is typically sufficient to prevent any trespassing into the compound. In regards to, that takes care of that issue.
Yeah.
Second?
Tree
Trees.
remo- tree removal.
Part of the tower placement was taken into consideration. We originally proposed it in the clear area where there's the gravel turnaround area. At the request of the town, we did slide that to the west to maintain the turnaround area for the town trucks. So we are moving a portion of the project, the compound, into the woods. It is going to be roughly about 60 feet, I would say, like an area 60 by 60. Off the west side of that gravel turnaround area.
So how many trees would you say have to come down?
I can't give you a specific number, but I can probably find out before your next meeting.
Okay.
Nope, public hearing is over, David, I'm sorry, certainly if the board has any questions of the public, like David or Teresa, the public hearing is over, but the board, this is where we go back and forth with each other or ask questions. Does anybody have any questions or comments for David and or Teresa who?
You know, I asked my questions out. Between now and the next meeting, I'll definitely make it a point to do a site visit.
Gotcha.
Well, I appreciate, all your times coming here. It's always great to see that if the town could get some kind of initiative, to back for our community, to ease the taxpayer. We appreciate that. But I would like to see more input of the public to see how they feel about this. And, and then we can make a decision then.
For the process, when it does come back for a vote, is there an opportunity? Well, there isn't a public hearing, but you can have the open to the
Open to the floor.
speaker, open to the floor.
I'm such a good concierge or maitre d' that I don't want to shut down Dave or Teresa. They seem like really wonderful people. There is nothing that rules against it. That in the next topic that we have is the open to the public for anything their heart desires. We have John Baldwin that signed up for that and Mark Avalone. If Teresa and or David want to step back on the podium and what their heart desires is to talk more about Creekside, that's fine. But as I will explain, and I guess I am explaining it, the open to the public, one thing I will say is it's a max of 5 minutes. It's the worst part of my job is I'm keeping time. When I got to tell somebody up there, you're at 4:45, let's start winding it up. There's no way I can say that without sounding like a jerk. So don't put me in that position, please. What I liked about Teresa and Dave is they took 3 minutes and 5 seconds and 3 minutes and 10 seconds at the podium for their statements. Very succinct, that's great. So I don't think if they go up there, they're gonna go past that 5 minutes. Now, I'm telling John Baldwin and I'm telling Mr. Avalone, please consider that 5-minute thing when you take that podium for the open to the public. The second thing that I want to make sure everybody understands is the rules of engagement that we've had in the past where somebody takes that podium for the open to public and rattles off 37 questions where they're saying, I want answers from the board on these 37 questions. The board is under no obligation at the open to the public to answer any questions. So I also want to make sure that that is understood. With that being said, I think we are moving on to the next topic or next agenda item. And I just gave the rules of engagement on that. So John Baldwin, you're up first.
Okay, recently, there's been an issue in my backyard. There was a in-law suite built at 504 Pipeline Way. There's 5 houses on Pipeline Way that their backyard is my west property line. So when we butt up, I got 5 properties that are draining into my property. And now I'm gonna go off my sheet and try not to veer off too bad. Since the grading of 504 Pipeline Way, the area in my backyard that would be a little muddy when it rained is now ankle deep in water. Now I have several inches of standing water where I never had water at all after a rainstorm. The project review board meeting for this structure held on May 16th, 2024 stated, if they change the grading, they should have an inspection, get grading plans to ensure it will not affect neighbors. I'm a neighbor, I'm being affected. We sent a letter to the planning board for the June 4th, 2024 meeting stating our drainage concerns for this project. The conversation between Mr. Kashani and Ed Matthew, who was representing the owners, stated that no new drainage would be put in place. Recently, the builder of this project went to the Webster Building Department at least 2 times to go over new drainage proposals for this project. Part of this plan is taking Pipeline Road runoff and redirecting it to the back of the 504 property. So that's bringing water basically 100 feet from the road into my backyard, into the vicinity of my backyard. Did the town engineers do any investigation with the plans presented to make sure that they were adequate and they were tying into some existing systems, and can these existing systems handle that extra volume of water that is now being placed into it? We asked through FOIL a copy of all drainage plans for this project because the finished results have a negative impact on our property. The town could not find anything for the FOIL request, and my wife asked for certification, which she got, that the town does not have any documents for these drainage plans. I was planning on going to the zoning board for this application to further state my drainage concerns, but the project never went before the zoning board. Even though it is 30% larger than the town code allows, code states 750 square feet, and the plans state 10,072 square feet. It also, the code states 1 bedroom and 1 seating area, but the plans show a second room that could be a second bedroom or a second seating area. Also, the one setback is 14.5 feet off the property line where 15 is required. So I'm confused why that didn't go before the planning board or the zoning board. And basically, the problems that were recurring were not caused by us. It was a neglect by parties involved that didn't take into account the storm water coming into my property. And my wife and I should not be responsible for fixing this problem when we did not cause it. And that's basically what I want to say.
You did fantastic because you were at 4:35. He saved me from having to say it. And I got to let you in on a little tell about the town of Webster organizational structure. Unfortunately, I'm at the top of it, I guess, as the town supervisor. And maybe you can, this will make sense to your own job, or if you're on top of the org structure at your job. The department heads are fantastic here, and tonight we have the town engineer, we have the finance director, we have town legal, we have the head of the highway department who oversees drainage. We have Mark Stein, the assistant town engineer, and we have the Josh Artuzo, Community Development Director, who handles Planning Board, Zoning Board. Mr. Baldwin just got a heck of an audience of the key players on what he just described. I really enjoy working with these people. I'm done as supervisor in a little under 7 months. One thing I'll miss is working with these people. This is a professional lot, and early on I said, do me a favor. If you think that your interaction with a citizen or a contractor or an engineer is starting to bubble up to the top where this may end up on my desk, would you give me a heads up? Today, Keith Mortimer sent me a very long email thread between Mr. and Mrs. Baldwin and several of these people here that said, you should see this, Tom, because this might come in front of you at some point through call or whatever. Actually, it was through Mr. Baldwin coming to the town board meeting. So the reality is I can't answer your questions today, but I know that this group is on it. And so you and your wife will get some answer from the town forthcoming probably next week. What that answer is, I don't know, because you described what you said. Respect that. These people need to now go and tell us the fact pattern. And sometimes descriptions are different from the fact pattern. I hope they're exactly what you said, and there can be a remedial situation to you and your wife's
Yes.
liking. So we'll see.
Okay, I
But-
just want, I mean,
Thank you, Jen.
yes, thank you.
All righty. Next up is Mark Avalon.
I just talked to this gentleman to see if they can Google a video for me. I want you to see a video on YouTube.
This is a wild night. Is it a first of all, Mark, could you get on the podium so the people that are watching this, either live or whatever?
Okay, my name is Mark Avalon, I live on Gravel Road.
Okay.
I'm a service-connected disabled veteran. I fought in the Gulf War, Desert Blanket, Desert Storm. I was the first 100 people over there.
Okay, and thank you. You had asked can you get something up on there? I mean, we're trying to, or is that?
We have internet connection. I believe.
So Mark, what do you want on the screen? Because we'd like to accommodate your request.
Okay, there's a disturbing video that affects everybody in this room. On
Maybe
this-
we don't want to put this up.
Yeah.
Describe the video and then we'll make a
Okay.
judgment call on whether we're putting that up.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. Me and my wife encountered a death threat from a person across the street. My wife has left me, we got a divorce. And this video was loud, obnoxious. 2 women across the street threatened to kill my wife. My wife is Filipino. I see you have a Vietnamese woman on the board. And this is a cancer that's bleeding into Webster. Next thing we know, we have four-wheelers and dirt bikes riding up and down the road. I went to the police. The police say there's nothing I can do. I'd like you to
Okay.
see this video.
We're not gonna put the video up, and I
Okay.
hope you appreciate why, Mark, okay? But that is something that, if, I'll give you my card, reach out to me tomorrow, all right? We'll talk offline,
Well,
okay? And I'll research it also with the police department and what happened. And once again, I appreciate what you said, and I respect what you said. I'm gonna go to the police department for the fact pattern, and we will talk about this offline. But we're not gonna put that video up. That was the first time in 5.5 years that I've been supervisor that somebody came up and said, can we put a video up there? We're not gonna do that one. Anyway, I'll give you my card. We'll talk tomorrow, all right? Thank you, Mark. Now, that is the last person who signed up for this, but like I said previously, if David and/or Teresa want another shot about talking about something, you're more than welcome to.
Can I go up on Dave's behalf?
You certainly can. And what is your name?
My name is Christine, do I have to go up here to say
You
that?
do. So we have, who do we have? We have Christine, and your last name again is?
Is Remington.
Oh!
Excuse me, can I
yes.
say, first of all, sir, Paul, I'm sorry to hear about your incident and everything. I love Webster, and this, it's about you. I'm just saying that, really am sorry. First of all, I would like to say thank you for your service. I love Webster, and to hear things like that is very, very disturbing, and it's saddened. So I believe that Tom, our supervisor, and all of us, town board here, will look into it to see what's the situation, and maybe we can help try to resolve it for you.
If I may, I have been to the police many times.
Okay,
All right.
I'm gonna make this very clear, and thank you for saying that. Can you hang on 1 second? I'm gonna hand you my card. I wrote down my cell number. My cell number is not on my card. Mark, you and I will talk about this tomorrow. We might get together for coffee, but we're not going to deal with this now. Thank you for coming, Mark.
Can I send the pizza to your phone?
It'd be great. I'm hungry. All right. Christine, by all means. And I take it you're at the same address as
My name
David?
is Christine Remington, and I am David Remington's wife. We are at 1214 Creekside Trail. And I know I was not on the original docket or sign-up sheet, but I just appreciated, after hearing a couple of minutes, I just had a couple additional thoughts I wanted to share, so thank you guys for a couple of minutes. So while I do appreciate, and I did learn from a business standpoint, I can certainly understand why Verizon may see this site as advantageous or a convenient spot. From a business standpoint and additional cell coverage, I can appreciate and understand that may be a great spot. However, living there for over 10 years, knowing the families in that area, knowing the impact, the kids that have grown up in that area, this could have a tremendous impact, negative impact on all of us in that area, including all of the children that run around the street, that play, our kids that are just having a great time. I wanted to add that with the structure of this potentially being built, it would, I would imagine, cause increased traffic from trucks or maintenance folks or whomever to check on the status of it. If there's outages, if they need to check on it. I would imagine the traffic flow going down this very quiet neighborhood would increase tremendously. It's a very quiet neighborhood, and I don't know. I live directly across the street from, we call it the service road. I don't know what the exact town wording is, what the name of it is. I live directly across from that, so I have noticed actually an increase in traffic, and I now understand it's probably site visits. It's probably been folks checking out to see, is this an appropriate site? And that is concerning to me, seeing the number of vehicles going down there. And then from a safety standpoint of, I don't exactly understand the technical term of the height of where the RF waves will go, but they're at a certain height because they can't be lower, is perhaps my understanding. Maybe from a safety standpoint, they can't be lower. And perhaps I don't have that correct, but that is concerning to me, that it is that close, that we will see this, that this beautiful treed park-like setting. Perhaps trees may get cut down. I was not clear on the exact proximity, but that would also go closer to this creek that Dave had mentioned, where there's all kinds of wildlife in there. So if whatever these RF waves are, or anything else that could expose this creek or anything else in the surrounding area, that is also another concern. So if a site visit has not been done from the Verizon team and or anybody on the board that is contemplating or considering this proposal, I beg you to look at this area, to look at the impact that this could have, and would you want this in your front yard, your backyard, your side yard, whatever. So I thank you for a couple minutes.
Thank you very much. Hey, the people over in your neighborhood, do you guys have an internal clock that you all speak in about 3 minutes and 10 seconds? It's uncanny.
Well, I was trying to keep it under the 2 minutes.
You did
but
fantastic.
Apparently I went over.
No, you have
No,
up
you
to
had
5 minutes. No, you,
5 minutes.
yeah, you did it at 3 minutes and 17 seconds when I hit the timer, and that's, you know, look at that, yeah. Teresa, are you getting back up there?
If okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I knew that was coming, right? You don't have a bank, by the way, that you can transfer.
You know my brother.
I know. Well, you know, if Mike came in here, I'd give him more time because, you know,
Yeah, I know, yeah. Thank you for the Verizon team for sharing this extra bit of information for me. And as I was looking at it, you know, interestingly enough, I found out about this from Michelle, who lives a few houses down from us, you know, a couple weeks ago, and it was like, wow. And thinking about it, of where it is and looking at it on this map, it's like, wow. Okay, so this is the proposed site, right? In my house. In my house. It's my yard. Okay, it's my yard. This is where my 6-year-old, my husband and I go into the backyard where we hike, where we fish in Mill Creek to catch those salmon that, who knows what can happen. We have deer that are beautiful and nest in that area. And I'm just curious, because when we bought this house, and one of the things about Webster that is beautiful is the parks in these areas. We're booming, we know there's neighborhoods going up left and right. But I thought like this area, and I don't know if this is a question for the town board, but do forever wild areas in our town still exist? Because it was to my understanding that, and I know there's a water treatment plant, and we do have a lot of traffic, and this is gonna be significant. And I kinda like where I lived because I can know that Nathaniel is safe in our cul-de-sac going on his, what we call scoot-a-loot, his scooter. But this is literally in our backyard. And the area this is going into, this is a beautiful area. And I'm inviting all of you in this town board, because again, I'm right here, this little area here. Come to my house. I'll make coffee if you want a glass of wine, if you just want water, sparkling water, whatever, grill or whatever. Come sit on my patio in the back. I want you to come see the area, and we can walk down, you can take a look at it. But it's my understanding this area was to be forever wild. And if we can think about that as a town, in our community, we can still conserve some of these areas that are forever wild and that are homes to not just us, but to so many other things, so many creatures, so many things. I'm really happy that I came tonight. I'm going to continue to educate myself on more information and to study on this, and I will be back to be able to speak. I will talk with our community, our neighbors that are also on this map a little bit more. But yeah, thank you for the time. Thank you for sharing this, and I'll be back with more questions. But the invite is welcome for the board to come on over to the Zawacki Chapman House, 1219 Scenic Circle.
Thank you, Teresa. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Unbelievable. It just is amazing. There's an internal body clock. Okay, we are moving on with the next part of our agenda. This is a bit of housekeeping, the first couple ones, I think. Jennifer?
The minutes first, we gotta do the minutes first.
Oh, shoot, I'm so discombobulated tonight, I forgot
Moving
about the
everything
minutes.
around.
I am. Okay, we have two sets of board minutes on the agenda for consideration for approval tonight. They are from the meeting 3 weeks ago, our last board meetings. I've reviewed them, they look great. Thank you, Deneen, timely as usual. I make a motion that we approve the May 15th, 2025 Town Board Workshop minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright? Aye.
And I make a motion that we approve the May 15th regular Town Board meeting minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright? Aye.
Was it you, Jennifer?
Now it's my turn.
Yeah, all right.
It was a crazy week, but I reviewed all of the bills, and they are in order, and I make a motion that we approve the bills as submitted by the Director of Finance, and a
Second.
little bit of commentary at the end of that. Very excited about the progress that the finance team is making to advance on a paperless approval system, and leveraging the Munis technology that the town has already invested in. I'm very excited about the opportunity that it's gonna save from a cost savings perspective and a paper perspective, and I'm happy that's moving forward, in addition to approving the bills. And that's my motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Where I'm with Jennifer on that, that wasn't all in the motion though, right? That's not gonna be in the minutes that, okay.
She prefaced it by saying, I have some commentary.
Right, okay. And then I did review the prepaid warrants as submitted by Paul Adams, Director of Finance, and make a motion we approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
And I did review the purchase orders submitted by Paul Adams, Director of Finance, and make a motion that we approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
Paul, do you want to say anything about the next one?
Sure. In early May, we received our final audit report from our CPA firm, Nagel, Mesker and Barr, and they provided an unqualified opinion dated April 24th, so the town's in good standing. We have the 50-plus page report, and we're on to another year.
Yeah. This is kind of accountant language, but you know how like if you go for a test medically and they say it's negative, and that's good, right? Negative is good. Unqualified in an audit report is good.
That's very good.
And just in case anybody's like, oh, they're unqualified. No, unqualified in an audit report is thumbs up. Thank you, Paul. So, I would make a motion that we accept the 2024 independent audit report as prepared by Mengel, Metzger, Barr and Company LLP.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
The next two, one thing that I gotta say, I really thank you, Paul, that you always seem to get to the town board these transfers and amendments probably 9 days prior to the meeting. You get them out there early. So, does anybody have any questions on what Paul got out as far as the
No, I
transfers
do
and
not.
amendments? Okay.
Questions?
No?
No questions.
Okay.
Probably explain, this includes 3 amendments in addition to some transfers. One of the transfers actually refers to one of the items Jennifer just mentioned, and taking the purchase orders and vouchers to a paperless system. We had to purchase a software product called TCM, which actually allows us to attach all the supporting documents to vouchers and POs, everything electronically. So that's one of the transfers. And the other amendments, 2 of them relate to grants that we received, one for tasers and one for, what's the other one for? Oh, records management,
Mhm.
which affects our town clerk.
Yes.
And then the third amendment pertains to some Monroe County ARPA funds that we received, or are going to be receiving. Our Parks and Recreation Department decided to purchase a 22-passenger van to service our seniors and to be used for some other purposes, and that's being paid for with ARPA funds. So we're expanding the budget to allow for that.
Quick question, he's not getting a taser, right?
Parting gift.
No.
Too
No.
soon?
Right. Well, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the 2025 budget transfers as presented by Paul Adams, Director of Finance.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
And I didn't say getting tased, I meant receiving a taser.
Well, John knows if I get a taser, I'll tase myself, and that's why they should not give me one. Anyway, I make a motion to approve the 2025 budget amendments as presented by Paul Adams, the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
So, the next two, which are licensing agreements, I mean, I'm usually, Pat, the applicant comes to the meeting. Is there any particular reason why they didn't? Not that they have to be here.
I don't think there's any particular reason, no. They all got reviewed the same on my part. We've discussed similar things with them. You know, all of these situations are areas where there's an easement. We evaluate it and see if it'll hinder us from doing what we need to do in that easement. We just apparently have a large run of these where there's easement in an area that doesn't have either a lot of infrastructure or doesn't need a lot of work. Oftentimes, there isn't any feature there to be maintained.
Yeah.
So those are the circumstances we can grant them. These next two are of that similar nature. I don't know if the folks are busy or.
And you have support letters on both of them, so. I
Yeah,
remember
correct.
that. And to that last point, I don't want to, and Kyle, this is going to probably be something you'll deal with potentially long after I'm gone, is that we talked about this at previous board meetings. The way certain easements were set up in town and subdivisions a long time ago we were finding they don't make a lot of sense. Like you said, some of them, like the person wants to put a fence in their backyard. That's a thing you'd like to do, but the whole backyard is a drainage easement. Pat goes out there and says, yeah, really only about 10 feet of the back of the thing should be, what we gotta maintain. I don't know what the thought process was by the developer, their attorney, the plan, I don't know. But this is where we find sometimes these easements are expansive over a certain amount of square feet, square yards, that you can put a fence in there, it's not a big deal. Now,
Correct.
whether we go to take and get rid of old easements to set up new ones, that is a massive project. I couldn't even imagine what that would take to do. I'll get off my soapbox. I'll make this quick. Make a motion for a license agreement to allow a 6-foot privacy fence within the town drainage easement at 1594 Brattleboro Drive, tax ID number 050.02-2-31.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
And I make a motion to issue a license agreement to allow a 6-foot privacy fence within a town drainage easement at 691 Maple Drive, tax ID number 063.20-1-87.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
All right, we're coming down the stretch. Josh, do you want to give any comments on why we're about to table this one? Or Kyle?
Yeah, I'll make a comment, because Josh had gotten those proposed changes over to me, and I had a chance to review them. I sat down with Josh this week, and I just identified some further revisions and other areas to consider. So in the interest of just being comprehensive and thorough, we decided to table it.
All good?
Yes.
Make a motion to table to the setting of a public hearing on a proposed code changes related to code enforcement and property maintenance for June 18th, 2025 at 7:30 PM to be advertised in the Wednesday, June 11th, 2025 edition of the Webster Herald. That's my motion to table that.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
And a little deja vu, when we did this last time, I think, John, you asked, like, well, what do we do when we come back? Because we tabled this on May 15th.
Right.
So we will change all the dates when we come back to the appropriate in the future.
Okay.
Is that right, Kyle?
That's correct.
I don't know if table is the proper, but the spirit of it, we know what we're, yeah. All right, well, this is the big one, lucky number 13. You know how many times I've said at this board dais that we paid $1 for 600 Ridge Road? John, we might have got ripped off.
No, we did not. And I will expand on some of the discussion we had earlier with respect to the bids that came in and the bid that we ultimately selected. Probably 10, 15 years ago, we demolished a building in the village.
Oh.
It was very unsightly. It's like a 4-unit building, and it was in very bad shape, and, you know, the banks didn't want to do anything with it. And we paid, back then, was like $45,000. So this price is a very good price. So congratulations on going through that process. And again, it's astounding, the difference, the swing from low to 175,000.
And why I said John, we got ripped off, and not to Jennifer or Ginny, John's in the trades. He's in the construction. He's been in the demolition business pretty, at one point.
Yeah.
So that's why I addressed him, because.
Well, John was also here, I think, probably when you paid $1 for the building.
Yeah,
Ginny was too.
Yeah, I was here.
Okay.
So was
Yeah.
Ginny.
Yeah.
And I actually walked that building, when we did a site visit. Were you there, Josh?
I was not, but I heard about it.
Yeah, I was just astounded that they would even consider, having someone go in there and take a look and put it up for sale.
I know.
That building, when I was in there years ago, was in very, very poor structural condition.
I was
Very
shocked
bad.
too.
Yeah. So.
Anyway, this was talked about at the workshop. It's been talked about ad nauseum for several years. Is it?
It's just great that it's finally coming to fruition.
It's the linchpin of that
It
neighborhood.
really is.
And you cannot have a plan, as a planner, Josh, and, to redevelop the West Webster Hamlet 100 yards in each direction of that intersection and not admit that you have to take out 600 Ridge first.
Yes.
That domino has got to go first.
Yep.
And we're about to potentially topple that domino. So, John, this is kind of close to your heart. Do you want to make the motion, since this
Sure.
is kind of
Well,
your bailiwick of?
I'll move to accept the low bid for demolition services at 600 Ridge Road and authorize supervisor to sign said contract.
Second.
If I may, Supervisor, just to amend that motion there, the contract. Josh, there's two separate ones, one with the Elite Excavating and one with Lozier?
That is correct.
That is correct.
Okay, so just.
Both
to be-
contracts.
Both contracts.
Two contracts.
With Elite Excavating not to exceed $59,500.
Yeah.
And a separate contract with Lozier for an amount not to exceed, what was the amount, Josh?
10,000.
I believe it was 5850. Do you help?
Yeah, 5870.
5850.
The
Yep.
backfill was 10 grand, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
5850.
That's my motion. Thank you.
Yep, great point, Kyle.
Second.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn,
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilwoman Wright.
I'm voting aye, but I just want to say a couple words about this.
Sure.
I think it's very unfortunate that we are not getting the grant to be able to do this work. That would have made this decision a lot easier. But I know it's very difficult to predict, but I believe, given the condition of the building and hearing what Councilman Cahill had to say, as well as Josh Artuzo, the cost of the ongoing maintenance or abatement or anything else that can happen with this property, while we don't have a crystal ball and know what that may be, I do think this is a good thing to move forward with, for the health and safety of the public and for the people in the area. David lives down the street. This has been going on for,
Decades.
like, I was gonna say, like 20 years. It was a web, such a complex web that nobody wanted to tackle it. So again, I wasn't here when all of that happened, but I commend the board and the people before me, Tom and Patty, John, you were on the board, like, back when some of this really started. it's like 20 years coming to a closure. And it'll be really nice. The domino needs to fall, and then maybe once the domino falls, round 4 of the grant, the Restore New York grant, might actually be awarded.
That'd be great. I hope private money starts to show its face,
Funnel in as
especially
well.
after we get the phase 2 testing done. And I think you'll see, that's just my guess, you'll see some private interest in developing there. We'll see. That's a milestone event, that
Yep.
resolution that we just passed. Wow. I didn't think that Brayton needed to come tonight because this is kind of a housekeeping item. Paul?
I'm involved in this.
Ah! Well, Paul, go ahead.
Certain elected and appointed officials have to do, join the New York State retirement system, have to do a time study, usually once per term. So they do like a 3-month time study to determine how many hours they get credit for in the system. That's all it is. We just have one person this time around that had to do the study.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adopt the standard workday and reporting resolution for the New York State and local employee retirement system.
Second.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen?
Aye.
All right, and here we go. It looks like it's spring cleaning time in Webster. I'll do human resources. I'll make a motion to approve the following asset for recycling from human resources, a wood desk, asset tag number 3033.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
I guess I'll do the supervisor's office too. I make a motion to approve the following assets for recycling from the supervisor's office, a modular workstation, asset tag number 42, and a dust unit with 2 file drawers, asset tag number 42.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
The heck, we gotta get more liaisonship out of the supervisor's hands. I guess I'll do community development too. I make a motion to approve the following assets for recycling or transfer from the community development / engineering department, the attached list.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
I move to approve the following assets for recycling from the sewer department as listed.
Second.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright?
Aye.
Now, I know you're running out, but now we do a roundtable and the department heads give a little update. You might be excited about this, but I also appreciate if you gotta get home. So we're gonna start with Keith Mortimer, our town engineer. What you got for us tonight?
I can confirm that Pittsburgh is a fun town to visit. Nice long weekend there, this past weekend, and it's a nice place to be. I haven't been to Pittsburgh before, so highly recommend a visit. It's a good sporting weekend.
Good update.
Steel town, terrible town.
Is the theme gonna be vacations? Paul, where have you been lately? What, no, your update.
Well, tomorrow's June 6th, that's the deadline for the department heads to have their tentative budget in to me. I don't have them all, but I'll be close. Keith just got it. He's in, Keith and Jeff. So we'll put it together next week, for the next 10 days, and we'll have meetings with department heads and town supervisor and the board liaisons to see where we go from there. Other than that, my daughter had a baby girl.
Yay!
6 pounds, 14 ounces,
A little peanut.
19 and a half inches.
A peanut.
She's a little peanut.
Tiny.
That's
Big
awesome.
thing. That's what I had Monday night, so that was fun.
Cool. Mark?
We had 2 interns start about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
James and Caitlin. So far, they have been approved their worth. By far, they've really have been undertaking our pond inspections that we need to get done yearly as part of our MS4 studies. They've dove right into our GIS issues. These kids coming out of college these days already have more knowledge in some of this IT stuff, and they're so far been very great. Can't wait to work with them all summer.
Awesome. Josh?
We are continuing our public engagement efforts associated with the comprehensive plan update project. Our survey is still online and accessible, so I urge anyone who hasn't had a chance to check that out and participate to do so by visiting the project website, webster2040.com. I will be at Summer Celebration this weekend. We'll be holding another pop-up event at that event. And I'd also like just to take an opportunity to thank Mark Stein for all of his assistance with the RFP process for 600 Ridge. It was very helpful to have his expertise on that, so.
Awesome. Kyle?
No update from the league.
No update from Kyle. Well, last but not least, the esteemed town clerk, also tax collector.
So tax collection is over. Monday was the last day for taxes to be collected for town and county, and we will be surrendering the remaining warrant amount over to Monroe County on Monday. And for town clerk, we are booming with marriage licenses for all of our June brides. So it's been pretty crazy with all of our marriage licenses. So that's all.
Awesome.
Well, guess what? We'll get out of here before 9 o'clock. Thank you, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.